In the headlines, divisional police officer gunned down in Benue State. CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele meets lawmakers at last as naira scarcity bites harder. INEC says fuel scarcity threatening election, signs MOU with transport workers. And on the foreign scene, Pope Francis urges mutual forgiveness to end Democratic Republic of Congo conflict. Hello and welcome to News Update on Trust TV. I am Sagir Ibrahim. Hello and welcome once again. Gunmen have killed a divisional police officer, DPO Mahmoud Abubakar, in Gwe West local government area of Benue State. Witnesses said the divisional police officer was killed by gunmen who laid a siege to Naka Makudi dilapidated road at about 3:30 p.m. The chairman of Gwe West local government, Andrew Ayande, confirmed the incident, noting that the deceased, who was in charge of Naka Divisional Police Station, drove alone in a vehicle and was going to pick up his men posted along the road on routine duty before the gunmen opened fire on him. The council chairman also said one Tehemba Tion was killed in the early hours of Tuesday by armed men who attacked his community in Gwe West local government area. He said the deceased Tion was killed in his community in Sengev Council Ward of Gwe West. Police Public Relations Officer, Superintendent of Police Catherine Anene, confirmed the killing of the divisional police officer. Also, troops of the Multinational Joint Task Force, MNJTF, have killed dozens of terrorists and captured more than 40 in recent operations in the Lake Chad Basin. The Chief of Military Public Information for the MNJTF, Lieutenant Colonel Kamaruddin Adegoke, made this known in a statement on Wednesday in N'Djamena, Chad. Adegoke said in Sector 1, Cameroon, the troops conducted ambush operations on January 22nd and January 23rd in the general area of Kolufata, Kirawa, captured one terrorist alive and recovered significant quantity of assorted foodstuff. In Sector 2, Chad, he said the troops had dominated the maritime domain from Bagalam, Kongalam and Kulfua and denied the terrorists freedom of operation. Adegoke also said troops of Sector 3 Nigeria had on January 18 and January 23rd intercepted a Boko Haram logistics supplier in Baga in possession of motorcycle spare parts. According to him, the well-conducted Special Forces operation led to the destruction of terrorist camps, neutralization of over a dozen terrorists, destruction of their equipment and capture of 2 high-value target criminals. And also, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, has assured Nigerians that despite the deadline of February the 10th for the phase-out of old notes, the Apex Bank will continue to accept the old notes as provided in Section 20, Subsection 3 of the CBN Act. Emefiele made the clarification on Tuesday when he finally appeared before the House Ad Hoc Committee on the swap of new Naira notes. Take a look.
The governor of the Central Bank, Godwin Emefiele, finally appeared before the ad hoc committee headed by Leader of the House, Representative Alhassan Ado Doguwa, after failing severally to honor the committee's invitations. In his presentation, the CBN governor noted that the introduction of the new Naira notes was long overdue, but despite the delay, it has helped in curbing insecurity, banditry, as well as revamp the economy. He said out of the over 2.7 trillion naira outside the banking system in 2022, 1.9 trillion naira have been recovered by the Central Bank of Nigeria since November 2022. Emefiele, however, faulted some commercial banks for breaching the guidelines given by the CBN on the distribution of the new notes, which he said is the reason for the hardship faced by Nigerians, but that the Apex Bank is presently working with anti-graft agencies to monitor the flow of the new notes to Nigerians.
More than 2.7 trillion naira is held in people's homes. What that does is that it makes our mandate of monetary policy very difficult.
He further clarified the insinuations on insufficient redesigned Naira notes in circulation by assuring that CBN staff and about 159 million are supporting the bank to ensure that the new currency reach all local government areas in the country.
We deployed all our staff. We effectively shut down Abuja, shut down Lagos. All staff, go to your locality, not just your state, not just your local, go to your locality.
Chairman of the committee, Representative Alhassan Dogoa, while commending the efforts of the Apex Bank, berated it for not carrying the parliament along in its actions. He said the hardship Nigerians were facing due to scarcity of funds necessitated the action of the parliament.
So only if you had communicated this to us much earlier, the crisis would not have come up at all. Nigerians would have gone home to sleep without any fear of let or hindrance.
According to CBN, the exercise has achieved over 75% success in villages across the 774 local government areas across the country.
And still on Cash Swap, the Joint Association for Persons with Disabilities Gombe State Chapter says its members are going through difficulties accessing the newly redesigned notes in the state. Speaking to newsmen in Gombe, the chairman of the association, Ishaku Adamu, said their members now lack access to basic needs of life due to scarcity of the redesigned notes. Ibrahim Ismail reports.
Although the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has extended the deadline for exchanging the old Naira notes for new ones to February 10, 2023, persons with disabilities in Gombe said they have not been carried along in the cash swap program. This, according to them, is complicating their already difficult situation because of their disabilities.
It means they cannot buy food, they cannot buy water, they cannot do a lot of. So we are receiving a lot of complaint from the grassroots, from our members, that their means of livelihood has been completely shut down because of this rejection of the old note and the inability of them to access the new Naira note. I cannot remember any deliberate attempt by the CBN or any government agency in targeting our people on this new policy. I cannot remember such.
Some of the PWDs narrate the difficulties they encounter trying to access the redesigned notes and coping with new CBN policy despite the deadline extension.
Like yesterday that I went to the market to buy something, they told me that I should transfer the money because they cannot collect the old notes. So that I keep wondering that, okay, let's say, for example, I don't have a phone and I cannot even transfer, and I don't have anybody close to me that will help me to transfer. You know, this issue of transfer is a very serious thing because I cannot disclose my PIN number to anybody that I don't know. And let's say if I give my PIN number to somebody that I don't know, what next will happen? As a person who is visually impaired, what next will happen?
To amplify the voices of the less privileged and marginalized, ActionAid Nigeria says it stands with persons with disabilities.
Not everybody has ATM, and not all ATMs are even disbursing. So the few ones that are there, you can't queue. That persons with disability cannot stand in a queue for more than 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. It's very difficult. And even those without disabilities, the other partner, are also complaining. So we are in solidarity with the poor and excluded people in Gombe State and the general in Nigeria.
The hope of these persons is for the authorities to avert the holding of the newly redesigned notes and make them available and easily accessible. From Gombe, Ibrahim Ismail reporting for Trust TV.
And in politics, presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, says he is talking to the candidate of the New Nigeria People's Party, Rabiu Kwankwaso, and Labour Party's Peter Obi to support his ambition in the forthcoming election. Atiku said this in a 15-minute interview with BBC Hausa Service on Tuesday. Atiku said both Obi and Kwankwaso are not a threat to his chances of winning at the February 25th poll, but they are talking and the discussion might yield a positive result. On the lingering PDP crisis, Atiku said each party has its internal crisis and theirs will not be an exemption, but they are working to solve the problem in no distant time. And also, the presidential candidate of the New Nigeria People's Party, Rabiu Kwankwaso, has described the party as the one that has the magic wand to turn around the fortunes of the country from its present challenges. Kwankwaso stated this at Kayama during the campaign tour of the senatorial candidate of the party in Kwara North Senatorial District, where the senatorial candidate also says he believes the people will vote for credible candidates and not political party. Take a look.
Despite waiting for hours to receive presidential candidate of NNPP, Rabiu Kwankwaso, which was delayed due to bad road network, the people of Kayama trooped out to welcome him to the palace of the Emir of Kayama. After informing the Emir of his promise to fix the major roads in the area if elected, the Emir prayed for his success in the next month's election. The NNPP presidential candidate laments various challenges affecting the country and assured that the party will return the lost glory of the country, especially in the area of security.
And we brought peace, don't forget, when I was Minister of Defense, to Sierra Leone, to Liberia, and Darfur. That time we were not even talking of internal security. Now we cannot even protect ourselves. Many of our citizens now are in IDPs, some are in hospitals, some are even in graves, being killed by bandits, terrorists, and other criminals. So by the grace of God, there will be unity in this country.
The senatorial candidate for Kwara North said the next election is one that the people will need to vote for integrity and focused candidate instead of political parties.
You see, we are not talking of parties this time around. We are talking people behind these parties. I don't see myself contesting with any other party, political, other candidate, because I know my people knows me very well. And I'm popular within my people. So if I'm popular within my people, we shouldn't talk of party.
The state chairman of the party, Abdulrazak Abdul Salam, believes old political parties have failed the people and assures that the NNPP is the alternative for the electorate to feel the government's impact.
The installation that NNPP is a new party in Kwara State is more of a fallacy than reality. You understand? Because if you look at the strength and the way NNPP is moving within the rank and file of Kwara, you'll find that is a content within NNPP and other parties.
Kwankwaso challenged politicians to always travel by road during their campaigns to enable them feel what the electorates are facing on a daily basis due to bad roads.
Also, residents of Katsina State have commended the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) for the smooth distribution of PVCs across the 34 local government areas of the state. This, they say, will enable registered voters to exercise their franchise during the upcoming poll. Abdullahi Yamadi has details.
So, actually, we have received 398,595 pieces of voters' card provided for us for issuance to prospective voters. And in the process, we have given out 312,922. Now we have a balance of 85,663 left over. But you should realize that these figures I'm giving you is not the last figures. The exercise is still in progress.
Speaking in an exclusive interview with Trust TV on the number of PVCs received, collected, as well as those still uncollected in Katsina as at January ending, the head of voter education and publicity of INEC in the state, Shehu Saidu, also assured that the electoral body is working to ensure a successful 2023 general election. On the extension of the date for collection of permanent voter cards, many Katsina residents, especially rural dwellers, are hailing the electoral umpire for the extension. I wasted no time in collecting my PVC. It is ready, and I'm just waiting for the election days to go to my polling unit and cast my vote for people I believe have the interest of the masses at heart. Currently, people are suffering. For instance, as a farmer in 2014 to 2015, if you took 20,000 naira to the market, it could buy you 3 to 4 bags of fertilizers, herbicide, and other farm inputs, as well as other basic necessities. But today, a bag of fertilizer in Katsina, whether local or foreign, is about 35,000 naira. Similarly, political parties are also optimistic that INEC officials across Katsina State will do their best to facilitate a hitch-free electoral process.
Collect their BBC card, because without BBC card, nobody will be participate in the election.
Beside PVC's distribution, the electoral body has commenced the screening of ad hoc staff at its headquarters in Katsina. The electoral umpire is, however, appealing to all registered voters to reach out their local government INEC offices and claim their PVCs to vote candidates of their choice on election days. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
You're watching News Update on Trust TV. Coming up after the break. Moves to stop perennial fuel scarcity. Do stay with us.
This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
At last, the elections are here. Let's turn out en masse on election day and vote Asiwaju Bola Tinubu as President of Nigeria for a renewed hope and a better Nigeria. Vote APC, the party that shows a broom.
Jama'a ga wata muhimmiyar sanarwa, hukumar raya birnin tarayya Abuja da haɗin gwiwar dukkanin harɗawa shugabannin rigage na Fulani da ƙungiyar Miyatta Allah reshen birnin tarayya Abuja dukkaninsu suna bayyana damuwarsu akan yadda waɗansu mutane suke sakin shanu suna kiwo sakaka a birnin tarayya Abuja. Don haka hukumar raya birnin tarayya Abuja da ta kare muhalli ta birnin suna sanar da dukkanin al'umma tare da gargaɗi akan cewa an hana kiwo na shanu da sauran dabbobi da tsuntsaye a cikin birnin domin suna haddasa bata muhalli da kuma cunkoson ababen hawa a cikin wannan birni. Saboda haka duk wanda aka samu ya karya wannan doka zai fuskanci hukunci, kasancewar akwai gurin da hukumar raya birnin tarayya Abuja ta ware domin kiwo a cikin su. Don haka tabbatar ka bi doka ka kuma haɗa hannu da hukumar raya birnin tarayya Abuja domin tabbatar da tsaftar wannan birni. Wannan sako ne daga hukumar tsaftace muhalli ta birnin tarayya Abuja.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
If you're just joining, you're watching News Update on Trust TV. Now recap of our top stories. Divisional Police Officer gunned down in Benue State. And CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele meets lawmakers at last as Naira scarcity bites harder. Moving on to more news now. Ahead of the February elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) on Tuesday signed a memorandum of understanding with the National Union of Road Transport Workers, the Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria, and the Nigerian Association of Road Transport Owners on movement of election materials. The Commission says lingering fuel scarcity in the country is a big threat to the conduct of the election. Noel Sampson reports that the Commission is also planning a sensitization program for members of the unions before the elections. Take a look.
This is the third MOU INEC will sign with the three transportation unions. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu stressed the need for the sensitization program for the members of the unions, which he said is an important part of the elections process.
The Commission shares your concern about the fuel situation in the country and its impact on transportation on election day. The truth is that our arrangements may be negatively affected by the non-availability of products. For this reason, the Commission will this afternoon meet with the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited to look into ways to ameliorate this situation.
The NURTW president reassured the Commission of the union's readiness for the elections, promising not to disappoint them.
And I'm assuring the national chairman of INEC today that by the grace of God, we are going to charge this duty as we give to us. And I always promise you, by the grace of God and support our members across states, we will not disappoint Nigerians. Once again, you are welcome to the Ministry of National Union Transport Workers. Thank you.
Meanwhile, the Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, promised to do its best in making sure that the vehicles meant for the electoral logistics are registered and roadworthy.
All vehicles inspected and certified will receive a tag from FRSC for proper identification that it has met minimum safety standard. The Corps Marshal is hereby calling on all union leaders to inform their members to follow due process and cooperate with members of the Corps. The Corps Transport Safety Office of the Corps has a review template of the checklist approved.
The Commission is confident of conducting a free, fair, peaceful, and credible elections. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And also, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited says modalities are being put in place to address the distribution challenges in the oil sector. The Group Managing Director, Mili Kyari, stated this after a meeting with major industry stakeholders in the oil and security sectors in Abuja. Chamu Dabeng reports.
The country has witnessed severe fuel scarcity, with Nigerians forced to stay for hours in long queues. This scenario cuts across the nation as some states pay above the approved pump price, triggering what was described by the GMD of NNPCL, Mele Kyari, as a crisis. According to Kyari, the issue the country is facing is not a supply issue, but a distribution one, adding that cross-border smuggling is a major factor hampering distribution.
As we speak now, we have 831 million liters in marine. That means in shuttle vessels and in motor vessels. And in the various depots that which all of us here represent, including NNPC, we have up to 738 million liters. Going into the market, there is no shortage of fuel going into the market.
With issues like the Russia-Ukraine war affecting the sector, the cost of transportation hasn't been friendly with independent marketers.
We also understand and agree that because of the current international crisis, the cost of freight charter has gone up. So we are also looking at the areas where we can at least cover their cost of transportation, both in terms of marine transportation and land transportation, in order to address this situation.
While the Chief of Defense Staff, Lucky Irabor, stated that the government is not handicapped in addressing the issue, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Al-Khali, stated that the police was working hand in hand with the NNPCL to quell illegal activity in the sector.
And so I have the mandate of Mr. President to come to say that because it is a crisis of internal nature, which of course the police and other security agencies should lead, but if it's getting across the threshold that affects our defense and security, to let us know that we do not, the government is actually not handicapped. There is an alternative.
It is our role to assist the NNPC in monitoring the process of distribution, if that will give us a leadway to the problem.
At the end of a private meeting with industry stakeholders, the GMD of NNPCL, Mele Kyari, assured that a solution was underway.
We have reviewed the situation and we have recognized that pricing is a major issue in the challenges that we're facing around distribution of PMS in our country. Of course, there are other issues, including logistic issues associated with distribution, and these matters are now being carefully resolved.
The fuel scarcity in the country has continued to make life difficult for its citizens, as not only is the product near out of reach, but the cost has become almost unaffordable to many. Chamun Dabeng, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And to news on the international scene, Pope Francis on Wednesday urged people in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where decades of armed conflicts have killed millions, to grant each other a great amnesty of the heart, calling on Christians engaged in battle to lay down their arms. On the first full day of his trip, his third to sub-Saharan Africa as Pope, Francis presided at an open-air mass for a crowd local authorities estimated at more than 1 million people on the grounds of a secondary airport in the capital, Kinshasa. The country's people, the Pope said in his homily, were suffering from wounds that ache, continually infected by hatred and violence, while the medicine of justice and the balm of hope never seemed to arrive. Francis said God wanted the people to find the courage to grant others a great amnesty of the heart. Armed conflict has left 5.7 million people internally displaced and 26 million facing severe hunger, according to the United Nations. And in sports, Nigerian midfielder Ebenezer Akinsomiro has linked up with Syria giants Inter Milan from Nigeria Premier Football League club Remo Stars. The youngster penned a 4-year contract with Inter. The likes of Nwankwo Kanu, Taribo West, Obafemi Martins, Obinan Sofo, Joel Obi and Obiora Nwankwo were once in the books of the Italian club. The talented midfielder was a product of Remo Stars academy team Beyond Limits. He was part of a Sky Blue Stars side that gained promotion to the NPFL in the 2020-2021 season. He also featured for the Ikene club last season. And with that, we've come to the end of News Update on Trust TV. Do well to follow us across all our media platforms. I'm Sagir Ibrahim. Thanks for watching.